What's up, guys? Welcome back to the RCT podcast. Now, first things first, trivia question. What president also served as the Chief Justice on the Supreme Court? Put your answer in the comments below. Also, hit the like and subscribe button. Now, I'm going to be a little critical of Ben Shapiro today. I admire Ben. I watch Ben a lot. I agree with pretty much everything Ben ever says. Ben Shapiro did his podcast yesterday regarding the Republicans' underperformance in the midterm elections. Ben had a lot of good things to say. I did, however, disagree with a couple key points that he made. The main one being that the quality of Republican candidates had a large reason to do with their underperformance. The reason I find that hard to believe is because between Fetterman, Joe Biden, and AOC, you couldn't make a fucking nursery rhyme. So was Dr. Oz the best candidate? Probably not. But to say that because Dr. Oz wasn't a quality candidate that Fetterman won, I don't think that's true. You would also have to assume that Oz didn't win because, as bad as Fetterman was, Oz was much worse, that Republican voters decided to risk losing the Senate and didn't show up to vote for the Republican candidate. Or you're assuming that Democrats are the only ones that vote out of spite and not out of support. What I mean is that we saw what happened with the 2020 presidential election. How many people voted for Biden because they just didn't like Trump? Republicans do the same thing. If they don't like a candidate, do you think that they would risk not having the Senate or the House of Representatives and just not go vote? So the assumption is that, well, they just didn't show up because they didn't like Dr. Oz. But that also can't be true because Dr. Oz outperformed the 2018 Republican by 400,000 votes. Now, Ben did bring up one issue that I wanted to hit on. He talked about how Trump supporting candidates could have been a bad or maybe a good thing, but he went in depth on why Trump's supporting these candidates and the problems behind it. And I'll let you go and watch his show from yesterday to go more in depth on that. But what I wanted to hit on, and this is my belief, what I think a major problem with the way we vote as citizens in the United States is I personally don't believe that a former, current, or soon to be or trying to be elected official should ever be allowed to endorse or funnel money to another campaign that is not their own. I believe that you should run your own race. You should raise money for your own race, and you let the voters decide. I don't believe that the National Republican Party or the National Democratic Party should be a national organization that has a bunch of money donated to it and funnels money to the candidates of their choosing for local and state elections. That's completely against what our whole system is supposed to be. I believe that if you want to run for office, first of all, we have too many barriers to entry. It should be a lot easier. As long as you meet the pre-qualifications dictated by the Constitution of the United States to run for office, it should be very easy after that. No one should be allowed to donate money to your campaign that is another politician. The only people that are allowed to raise money for your campaign should be the people that you hire to work for your campaign. We should only allow individuals to donate money to campaigns and not businesses. Okay, so me, Michael Key, can donate money to a campaign as much as I want, and it should be public record. The parties on a national level should be a matter of circumstance. The Republican National Party should be made up of whoever just so happened to win as a Republican in their state or local election. When you have the parties funneling money to the candidates that they like, you create that kind of good old boys club and you are making the parties more powerful than they ought to be. I have no problem with the two-party system. No problem with it. But I do have a problem when Republicans and Democrats alike are able to endorse and basically handpick the candidates that they think will advance the Republican agenda or the Democratic agenda solely for the purpose of just remaining in power. They're not there to remain in power. They're there to represent the people that vote for them. It's as simple as that. Make them run their own race, make them raise their own money, and I think you would have these candidates going out in the community and being a lot more involved and being a lot more out in the open for the people who are going to vote for them, because they would have to be. The only thing that should matter for a Senate election is the people in that state. The only thing that should matter for a representative is the people in their district. Worry about Washington and the matters in Washington once you're elected. You should run on your own agenda, and you should run on what you think is best for the people you're going to represent. And if they like it, they'll vote you in. But, Mitch McConnell or whoever heads the Republican Party should not have any say in who's running for office in whatever state or district. I'm sorry. I think that's wrong. And this goes both ways. I think that when I listened to Ben talk yesterday, he was more upset about the Republican losses, which they severely underperformed. But he seemed, and if he wants to correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like it was only about Republicans winning and not about the people or the individuals that actually won. You see, I would vote for a Democrat. I'm a staunch conservative Republican, but I would vote for a Democrat if a Democrat ran on, let's say, the basis of lower taxes, deregulation, limited government, and advancement of the free market. They would be a pretty attractive candidate to me because that's what's important to me. I would be open to voting for them. We should vote for the best candidate and what they have to offer us, and not just because they're a Republican or because they're a Democrat. Being a Republican should just be, I side with the general beliefs that Republicans hold. I side with the general beliefs that Democrats hold. Again, the Democratic Party should just be made up of the individuals that are voted in that just so happen to be Democrat. You would eliminate a lot of the PACs and the super PACs that funnel money. You wouldn't eliminate necessarily all the lobbying. The only way you're going to do that is by eliminating government regulation on businesses. But you would have a lot less problems, in my opinion. We need to kind of bring it down to a micro stance on these elections and not so much a macro overall, Republicans aren't holding the majority. Well, I'd rather have a Republican, let's say, minority, but then have Democrats in there that are voted in that maybe align more with Republicans. They're just as good. The problem is the Democratic Party gets to handpick who they want to run, so you don't have those people. And the ones you do, like you say, Tulsi Gabbard, they get kind of outcasted by the party, and now they end up having to leave because they don't have any backing. But they shouldn't have any backing of their constituents to begin with. It shouldn't be up to them. It should be up to the people she represents. And it's as simple as that.